All right, so today I have Anthony Jensted. I say that right? Jensted?
Kjensted, yeah, okay.
Jens. All right. From Firefly Recovery. We're going to get into what that is here in a minute. So, what is the worst pronunciation you've gotten of your name?
Oh, they usually overemphasize the Kjensted, or I just see the look on their face as they're trying to say my name, and I catch them there, and I'll finish it for them.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure growing up that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, my kids love it.
Yeah, yeah. So really cool opportunity here to talk to you. I really appreciate you coming on and giving us some time. So, what you offer is a product for recovery, and it's a little different than you know some of the stuff that's out there now. And I want you to just kind of describe what your product is and um, how it works and the
Sure.
benefits, sort of thing.
Yeah. So Firefly is a portable wearable NMES pneumatic or neuro muscular electronic signaling device that actually looks like a stimulation device, but it functions more like compression.
Mhm.
It was developed initially as a medical technology, never had any intention to have any conversation with athletes about recovery. Started as a medical device to actually prevent blood clots after surgery. What the company figured out, the standard of care in medical device for preventing a blood clot, if any of your listeners have had surgery, which I'm sure many of them have to some degree, they get these little squeezers on their ankles. Those are called pneumatic sequential compression devices. In the medical world, they put them on you to prevent a blood clot while you're under anesthesia or you're non-ambulatory or you're in a hospital bed. Um, there's an unmet need in that product because a lot of people can't wear them, especially like stroke patients that they don't want to tether to a bed and put pumps and squeezers on them. So our technology company figured out that rather than squeezing your lower extremity to increase blood flow, you could actually stimulate the nervous system. So there's a nerve that runs down the lateral side of your legs called the peroneal nerve. And when you stimulate that with our technology, it causes a little bit of a foot pump. That actually increases circulation by 400%. So in the recovery world, there's a lot of pneumatic compression devices that are out there that are being used for recovery. Um, and our product just moves blood better, and it actually happens to be portable wearable, which has some advantages over other technologies. A lot of athletes will have to, they want to start the recovery process faster, immediately post training or post game. They're jumping on a bus or a flight, and they can't wear these devices because they have to plug them into the wall, and they have to have different access to them. Where our technology, we call it slap and go. They can slap them on and they can go, they can walk, they can get on a plane, they can get on a bus, etc. So that's kind of our advantage that happened to happen on the medical side and ends up being also beneficial on the athletic training / recovery side.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's probably a little too technical, or I actually didn't even get that technical. But medical that transferred over into recovery, and now we've got quite a few athletes out there using them.
Yeah. So, having been on your website, you have some really high-end athletes. You have a ton of teams that are using it, both professionally, collegiately, and then people outside of that, I'm sure as well. So get into a little bit of, let's get a little technical.
Sure.
Kind of scratch the itch that I have about it. And I'm actually wearing them right now. So I'm
Oh,
happy.
nice.
Yeah, I saw that it's called the Firefly Flutter going right now. I had I worked out early just a little bit ago, and so I decided to throw them on and see. So I've been using them. How long has it been? Like 3 weeks now, I guess. And
Okay.
um, I notice a difference when I don't wear them. That I'm not as recovered the next day. So what's it called? What's the term I'm looking for? Anecdotally, I can tell you that it does really well. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
for me anyway,
Well,
as,
and
as
I
a
can tell you clinically it works, so that's a good thing.
right.
The I knew nothing about recovery 7 years ago. My background's medical device. What happened is I ended up taking this medical product that had this over-the-counter application, and I'm based out of Los Angeles and have done knee bracing. If you see knee braces on athletes, I do all that for all those Southern California teams out here. And so I took it to the Lakers, Kings, Ducks, USC, and I said, hey, I've got this portable medical device that has this over-the-counter application for recovery. What do you think? Does it fit in what you're doing? And they all said, absolutely. This is a product we need. There is a niche for this product. So I started the business 7 years ago. And actually I sell both sides. I sell medical and I sell the Firefly. And yeah, just started pecking off the local teams and then started going to the bigger meetings, Pac-12, SEC. They all have their medical meetings in the off season, and started educating the athletic trainers and sports and strength and conditioning coaches and sports scientists in all the athletic training rooms on what are they using for recovery from a modality wise, and does our product fit? And fast forward 7 years, the answer is yes, it does fit. Our product is a little bit of a weird product because it looks like stem, it functions like compression. So we do have to do a little bit of more education than looking at some of these other modalities that people are using, and it kind of just is very intuitive. Our product isn't, until you kind of do a little research like you did. But yeah, we're in 500 plus pro and college training rooms now. And that business is growing rapidly. And we have a lot of adoption now in the consumer market. So your elite triathletes, your marathon runners, your really everybody. I mean, a lot of people land on our page. The Tampa Bay Bucks last year when they went to Germany said we were their secret weapon for travel. So we have as many inquiries about just generally people traveling to Europe on flights where they want circulatory devices. So it's not all athletes that are using our product, but our focus in the first 7 years has really been the athletic training room. So yeah, it's been a good journey.
Yeah. So let's talk about the difference between, you've talked about pneumatic. So a pneumatic would be, the brand is Normatec, I think, has a pretty big. Is that right?
Yeah, there's
big pneumatic sleeves that you put your legs in, and it pumps up and releases, so that it encourages blood flow, right?
Correct.
And so the difference with your product is that you're stimulating a nerve in your lower leg, and literally right now my feet are going like this because you're
Yep.
stimulating.
We call it the flutter.
Right. And so that, you guys have, plenty of literature on your website that shows that increases blood flow by 400%. And so what are the benefits of the blood flow being increased, and, why is that better for my recovery?
Yeah, I mean, recovery is I call it this nebulous cloud of thought, right? Like we all know what we generally mean when we're talking about recovery. We know it's a combination of things, right? It's definitely sleep. It's definitely nutrition. And then I consider recovery these other things of one percenters, giving you that additional benefit. And I think blood flow might be more than a one percenter, but let's call it a one percenter. So you do all these other things right, which maybe people don't even do those things right, but we're all trying to kind of put these three things together to maximize recovery, and so we can perform better. Or your kids at a weekend tournament and they're playing 10 games in 3 days, and how do you keep them on the field and reduce injury? And there's all this theory around recovery as well, like if I'm more recovered, I'm less injured, which actually there's no research to point to that, to be honest with you. And it's interesting when you go to these clinical meetings, there's more focus than ever on recovery, nutrition, sleep, but these athletes are actually getting injured at a higher rate still, right? So is that just they're better athletes, so they're pushing themselves more? Is it overtraining? Is it there's still all these nebulous clouds of things. So I never say we're the silver bullet, but I do say, hey, look, blood flow is obviously a part of recovery. If you can systemically take your blood and fire it back to your heart faster, you're going to get good things back in the system, right? You're going to increase circulation, you're going to flush out the bad stuff, and you're going to bring in the good stuff. And then what modality does that better than the other modality? And we have the clinical research to say we push blood better. We prevent a blood clot on the medical side. We absolutely move blood. And is that a component of recovery? Yes, we think so. And we've got 5 or 6 good papers on our website that support that. They actually support using our product between 2 and 4 hours, depending on workload, which again is kind of this nebulous cloud of what's defined workload. But let's say you had a really hard day of training, whatever that is for you. If you can get in our device 2 to 4 hours and do the other things nutritionally and sleep wise, you should recover 3 times faster. Normal recovery times are 72 hours. We can get you down to 28. To your point, I think a lot of recovery is just, I feel better. I feel like fresher. My legs feel better. I feel like I can perform better. Is that the pill that doesn't really do anything, but you took it so you feel better? I don't know. I know clinically our product on the medical side is FDA approved to reduce inflammation. We're healing wounds faster, all with this kind of simple technology. So when you kind of add those things into like what an athlete needs as well, circulation for maybe a contusion or an ankle sprain or an injury that's kind of just nagging them, but a little increase in blood supply will reduce inflammation. I think you get a lot out of this very simple technology. And then when you compare us against pneumatic, we just work better, and we feel like you should be in ours 2 hours. So, are you going to go sit in the corner in one of these devices for 2 hours, or are you going to throw Fireflies on and go to lunch or go work on your, computer or whatever? So just convenience, I think, is a other advantage.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it literally is just a strap around your knee. I mean, you're totally mobile with it. You don't
Yep.
have to, if you're a traveling athlete or anybody really, I mean, you just have these, you can put it in an envelope basically, and you don't have a big bulky unit or I'm not trying to sell against pneumatic, but it just,
Yeah.
from a convenience standpoint, it's an easy decision. Couple of things. So the nerve that you stimulate. I want to clarify for people that so it's a perineal nerve or peroneal, how you elect to
Yep.
say.
Potato.
So so it's not just your legs that this is promoting recovery, and it's your entire body because it stimulates blood flow throughout. Obviously, blood flow is blood flow. It's not just specific to one area, right?
Yeah, yeah. And this is where I think I know what I know, but there might be somebody that could challenge me. But the way I look at it and the way I understand it, it's a closed system. 70% of your blood is in your lower extremities. So when I'm standing here talking to you, 70% of my blood's in my lower extremities. When I'm pumping it out, whether it's through pneumatic or using our technology, you're basically pushing it back to the heart faster,
Yeah.
right? And it's a closed system. So if you're pushing it, then it should circulate faster. So in my mind, that's what we're doing for recovery. You're also getting that nerve runs from hip to toe. So you're getting this 400% increase in microcirculation. So the way I think of it, I'm based out of Los Angeles. So the 405 and the 5, that's your kind of arterial and venous flow. That's your systemic blood flow. But then you've got the 22, the 91, these other freeways that branch off from there. That's kind of your microcirculatory system. We increase that by 400%. That's why we have an effect on inflammation and stuff like that. And so yeah, it's it's a unique technology that's pretty simple that does a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk specifically to the people that listen to this podcast. So it's going to be most likely people who are participating in youth sports, so a high school age student athlete or their families. So you have kind of two different demographics there. So you have a kid a boy or girl who's in high school, so 14 through 18, whatever the age is roughly, and then they're doing their sport, um, 4 to 6 times a week. Um, and so, how would they be instructed to use this if they got Firefly, and you know how would how would they use it, and then
How
what
would they
would they
implement?
expect to get feel from it?
Yeah. So, I always just relate it to my kids. How would I tell my kids to use it, right? Because they played youth sports. They were, you know, my daughter played uh, college volleyball at a junior college locally.
Mhm.
And so, how I implemented it with my family is depending on their workload. Again, I think those athletes are the most under touched athletes. A lot of pro athletes don't even train as hard as our youth athletes when you kind of look at their schedules. Um, and then especially tournaments that we would take my kids to, like on the weekend with soccer. I mean, they're playing 5, 6, 7 games on a weekend or more sometimes if we did a travel, to like Colorado for a volleyball meet. So I would implement it post training, at least get my kid to wear it at least an hour post training. I'm not going to define their workload. I'm assuming they're working hard. It's hard to get kids to do anything for a long period of time. So I always say, if I can get them in an hour a day post training, then that's a good thing. And then when, any time long haul travel, whether that's a long car ride to an event or a flight, so that they land ready to go, their circulation is good. And by the way, my wife and I are wearing them as well because, my feet end up this big at the end of a long haul flight. So I would wear them as well. And then in between games, I think that increasing circulation in between games that are 2, 3 hours apart. Sometimes I'd even throw my kids in them like maybe a half hour before the game. Then especially if it's 3 games in a day.
Mhm.
So just get a little warmth going, little circulation. There's no science on that, but to me is like we always think about warming up is blood flow, right? So getting them warmed up, and then if they had any you know issues with like just my Achilles feels a little tight or I have a little patella tendonitis or whatever, then I might have them wear it a little longer on that affected side just to increase circulation, see if we can have any positive effect there. And that's kind of how we see the athletes in the pro world wear them as well. The post training, they're a little older athlete. We do tell them to get into them as minimal. I want the minimal dose to be 2 hours if they can,
Mhm.
maximal dose 4. But if we can get them 2, that's great. And then again, travel. A lot of these athletes, the Lakers will finish tonight a game. They jump on a plane and head to New York immediately. They don't stay in their hotels, etc. So they wear them complete long flight, and then immediately post gameplay.
Right. Um, talk about so talk about a little like how do you determine what setting to use? There's I think there are 7 different levels. Do I have that
So,
right?
yep,
Um,
yep. You're
so
just looking for the foot flutter.
okay, right.
Yeah, yeah. And more is not better.
That's
Like as athletes, we're like, well, if my foot's fluttering, that's good, but I want it to, I want to be great. I want to recover faster. There's no additional benefit to go incrementally more than just that little foot flutter.
so the
Um,
max that it takes to kind of move your foot.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just dependent on a lot of things, but it's mostly tissue. Like how much, I'm a little bigger guy. I'm an XL, so I need to be a 4 or a 5 level. Where I throw this on my son who's 18 and lean, he's going to be a level 1 or 2.
Right.
Yeah, there's no, and you might be a 4 on one side and a 5 on another. Another thing that's kind of your nerve moves with flexion or extension of your legs. So if you're like seated, you'll notice that you need less energy. But if you're stretched out on like a plane, you might need a little bit more energy. So sometimes you have to toggle it a little bit.
Right.
The next generations might, do that for you and might have a, replaceable battery as opposed to our current version. But we're still kind of in this medical version and until we become a bigger company.
Yeah. So if a kid goes on to become a college athlete, it's a good chance they're going to run into this product. There's a lot of colleges that are starting to use this.
Yeah, yeah. Every day we gain one, two, three. If I don't know if the dings are coming through, but that's my team. Like we are always communicating, always growing the business. Last 3 or 4 days, I was with the Washington Commanders when I was out by you in DC. I was with Georgetown. I was with the Wizards. Yesterday, I was with. I was on Stanford's campus up in Northern California. 49ers. So we're always trying to grow the business. But even if we get like Stanford football to buy, we still have volleyball and basketball. And usually they have their own trainer and staff and their own coaching staff. So we really have to knock down each team individually inside of each college. The other thing that we did, interestingly enough, and I don't know if NIL has been a comment or a topic on your podcast, but we didn't really know how to handle NIL when it first came out. We had a lot of athletes reach out to us, and what we created an NIL program, and we have probably 1,000 athletes now in our NIL program. None of them are paid, but we do give them product and some swag, NIL Firefly swag. And what we try to do is we don't pick the athlete with the most followers or the this or the that. It's kind of an algorithm based on, have we already supported that school, how many athletes on that particular team. We try to get a really good mix of pro-esque athletes, college athletes. We even have some high school athletes, and we have a link for that. So we always try to support it. As it grows, it gets harder to support because it's a lot of free product that we send out the door. But we really love to work with athletes as much as we can in that space, and they really help us send the message out of how they're using it, when and why. So that's been a really good topic embrace for us.
Cool. That's really cool that you're doing that. And yeah,
wish we could do more, but I don't want to be the company that gives away more product than it sells.
yeah, that's a dangerous equation there.
Yes.
So two more things.
Yeah.
So we didn't discuss parents. So
Yep.
is there anything different? I know, I'm 50 years old, and I know that it's going to take me longer to recover. So anything that I can latch onto that'll make me recover a little better, I'm going to do. But so is there science out there that says that this will help, someone who's a little older and takes a little longer to recover, or is it the same formula no matter what your age is?
Yeah, I don't think we have research specific to age, but I do feel like anecdotally, to use your word, like my older athletes buy more into wearing it longer.
Mm-hmm.
My youth athletes, they just want to be done with it, right? They, first of all, they never, my kids never want to. I mean, I'm the Firefly guy. I have them in my house, and I sometimes had to beg them to use them, right? And I'm like, Tom Brady uses these, right? Like, come on, like, let's but I would say with us, I'm very similar to you. I've been I didn't know a lot about recovery when I started this journey 7 years ago. Now I cold plunge. I have a sauna in my house. I use Firefly all the time. I try to watch my eating better, etc. I think just it's something good to understand for all of us, that we want to keep doing what we do, and we want to feel better on the other side of it. And I think there's a lot of things that you can do, and Firefly is not the only thing. But I think that you create this good algorithm. I'll tell you what, I've never slept better in my life since I started doing the infrared sauna.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little regimen now. I take magnesium at night. I don't know if you have problems with sleeping, but so every night I'm home,
Uh-huh.
I get into my infrared sauna. I know everybody can't get an infrared sauna, but I get in my infrared sauna. I jump in my pool, which is, I don't heat, so it's fairly cool. It's more cold in the winter than it is right now, but it's that immediate heat and then, into a cold. And then, that's kind of almost before I go to bed. And I do usually work out before that. And then magnesium at night. I think I do 400 milligrams,
Hmm.
and I sleep like a baby.
Right.
And that, I think, all the research I read, I mean, sleep is the number one thing that you can really control, especially for us and your youth athletes. And if that's just the one thing, even if you don't buy a Firefly, if you just focus on sleep, I think it's huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for to your question, I know this is a long way to get there, but you know, try to look at things that help. This is a very simple technology. I'm sure you can think of a lot of ways you would use it outside of straight performance recovery, whether you have circulation problems, whether you're going to be on a long haul travel you're going to take your family to Europe. There's just little hacks that blood flow increasing can help with outside of straight performance recovery.
Right. Lastly, so what's next for Firefly? Are there new products coming out? Are there new, what advances can you make with the product?
Well, so we're still in a medical form, as you probably, when you open the cellophane pack, you thought maybe I worked in the OR as a sales rep in my back in the day. It's like I'm opening up surgical implants and putting them on the sterile field. It still feels like that. So we'd love to make a more consumer facing technology that looks a little cooler, maybe that is a little, uh, gets over that side. We have been challenged by the community to have a rechargeable battery. Our technology was built to be used in the hospital. You put it on a patient, 24 hours later, you take it off, you throw it away, you put another one on. In our world, you take it off and on up to 30 hours. The device will last 30 hours. So I usually say 2 hours of treatment. So you get 15 treatments per pair before you have to dispose of them. We'll never be a totally non-disposable product, because to provide energy across your body, you need a gel-based electrode, and those have a limited life. So we're working on what we call the G3, which is generation 3, which will be a reusable um, component for charging. Um, and then we'll make it look fancy, and you'll find it at Best Buy or one of those deals. So
Right.
that's a year and a half plus down the line. We still got a lot of opportunity just in our existing product. We sell a lot into like the military, where honestly a device like that would never sell in that space. They want something that's disposable, reusable, super lightweight. They throw in their backpack, but it's not adding, they're not handing that military athlete, a $400 device. They're handing them a $40 device. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then a lot of collaborations. Again, as we build this journey of understanding recovery more, there's a lot of cool technologies out there that I think the average person doesn't know about, and even really the most educated athlete doesn't know about. So there's ways to help jet lag by using nutrition and light blocking and increasing blood flow. So I think we pair up well with stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but we're super hyper focused right now. Still nobody knows about Firefly, even though we on our side feel like we're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
We're happy when we get another 100 followers on Instagram and we're like, yes, so, we're killing it. But like, I relate it to like a craft beer company versus Budweiser. The big guys in this space take more returns in a month than we probably sell. Like craft beer, Budweiser spills more beer than the craft beer companies make. We hope to be big, but we hope to stay small mentality,
Mhm.
because when you send an email into Firefly today, I answer it. I'm the president. We have about 6 people. We have a small warehouse in Orange County. I like this feel of interacting with people like yourself, where you reach out and I can have a immediate contact. We get athletes calling us all the time, therapists, doctors, patients, and I love to have this communication and talk about the product. I don't want to lose that and become, this company where you send an email in and you never get an email back.
Right.
We're still focused on being the best and really more just educating. So I want to enjoy that as long as I can, as I try to build this to be a big company. It's that push pull, right, of that. So yeah, we'll see where the journey takes us. Nobody thought we'd get this far, and now people know us, so things like this, opportunities like this, I appreciate. Help spread the word and kind of educate. But in general, I think recovery still, your best athletes in the world sometimes don't do the things that they should. So pushing it down into the youth space, I think, is super important, because as these athletes get older and they come into these training rooms, they've also got to be willing to ask the athletic trainer and the sports scientist and the coach, like, look, a lot of our athletes don't realize, like, hey, you can go ask for these things. These things are readily available. So we might have USC football that uses Firefly, but maybe the guard on the offensive line doesn't realize it's accessible to him, because maybe they're speaking more to position players and quarterbacks and running backs. So I think just athletes making themselves aware, which I think they are, and just diving deeper and kind of understanding kind of what the perfect matrix is for them.
Yeah. Well, very cool. I will definitely proselytize for you. I believe in the product, and my little group here will. I'll definitely continue to talk about it. So I can't
Sounds
thank
good.
you
Well,
for coming on.
good luck on your journey of building this podcast and awareness. And I
Yeah,
know it's hard work, and you're doing a great job. And thanks for having us on. And in the future, let's stay connected.
definitely, definitely. Thank you, Anthony.
All right.